Captain Zara Blackwood stared at the massive derelict floating in the void, her coffee mug frozen halfway to her lips. The ship's silhouette against the crimson nebula backdrop resembled a cathedral someone had tried to murder all elegant spires and graceful arches, now torn and twisted into modern art that screamed tetanus hazard in at least 17 different languages. Well, she drawled, setting down her universe's okayest salvage captain mug. That's definitely not in our database of known shipwrecks. Zhou Chen, please tell me our sensors are malfunctioning, and I'm not looking at what I think I'm looking at. Marcus Chen, her executive officer and professional party pooper, squinted at his holographic display. If you think you're looking at roughly 2 kilometers of unknown alien warship that's probably worth more than the combined annual GDP of 3 Earth colonies, then no, your eyes aren't deceiving you, Captain. Fantastic Zara's grin would have made a shark file a copyright infringement lawsuit. Get me engineering! The holographic display flickered to life, revealing Chief Engineer Ravi Patel's grease-smeared face. He was already grinning like a kid who'd just discovered where his parents hid the Christmas presents. Please tell me we're doing this. Cap Ravi practically bounced in his seat. Because I've already started calculating thrust vectors for the tow cables, and Jenkins is literally hugging the salvage drone controls. Jenkins, stop making out with the equipment, Zara called out, hearing a distant sorry captain in response. All right, people, this is what we've trained for. Well, not really. We usually train for much smaller, less impressive, and significantly less career-making salvage operations, but I believe in our ability to improvise spectacularly. Marcus cleared his throat, the sound somehow managing to convey this is a terrible idea in Morse code. Captain, protocol dictates that we should report this find to Fleet Command first. This could be a first contact situation. Technically, Zara raised a finger. It's a first contact situation with a very dead ship. And as per Salvage Code 47B, subsection 3, paragraph finders keepers, we have salvage rights to any derelict vessel discovered in neutral space. She paused. I may have memorized that particular regulation. Of course you did, Marcus sighed, but Zara caught the slight upturn at the corner of his mouth. You know they call us the garbage collectors of the galaxy back at command, right? Well then. Men. Zara stood up, straightening her decidedly non-regulation leather jacket. Let's show them how this garbage collector is about to make history. Ravi, prep the boarding crews. Marcus, get our legal team ready. Yes, I know it's just Lieutenant Wong with a law degree from an online university, but she's scrappy. Engineering, warm up the tow cables. And somebody please tell Jenkins that if he doesn't stop hugging the drone controls, I'm going to start docking his pay for inappropriate workplace relationships. The bridge crew burst into action, their movements precise despite the barely contained excitement. Zara watched as her salvage vessel, the modestly named Second Chance, maneuvered closer to the colossal wreck. The ship's spotlights illuminated more details of the alien vessel weapon emplacements larger than her entire ship, armor plating that could probably shrug off a small sun, and enough sensor arrays to make a surveillance state blush. You know, Marcus said quietly beside her, this could either make us legendary or get us court-martialed so hard our great-grandchildren will feel it. Zara's smile never wavered. Those are the best kinds of operations, XO. Those are the best kinds. She grabbed her emergency toolkit because no self-respecting salvage captain would board a mysterious alien vessel without one and headed for the airlock. Besides, what's the worst that could happen? Please, Marcus groaned, following her, don't ever say that again. You know the universe takes statements like that as personal challenges. That's what I'm counting on, Zara whispered, watching as the boarding shuttle prepared for launch. That's exactly what I'm counting on. You know what this reminds me of, Jenkins whispered as their mag boots clanked against the alien deck plating. Every horror movie ever made about space exploration. Jenkins, Dr. Kenzie O'Malley's voice crackled through the comm. If you start humming horror movie themes again, I will personally reprogram your quarters air recycler to make everything smell like wet socks. The boarding team's lights cut through the darkness of the massive central corridor, revealing architecture that seemed to laugh at human engineering principles. Sweeping curves merged with impossible angles, and what looked like liquid metal frozen mid-flow served as wall paneling. Fascinating, Kenzie muttered, her scanner whirring. The metal's still active at a molecular level. It's just... Sleeping, she paused. And before anyone makes a wake-it-up joke, I will remind you about the wet socks threat. Captain Blackwood led them deeper into the ship, her helmet lights illuminating a bridge that looked like someone had given a crystal cathedral an engineering degree. Ravi, please tell me you're recording all of this. Command's going to accuse us of hallucinating otherwise. Recording everything, Cap, Ravi replied, already halfway inside an open panel. Also, I think I'm in love with their power distribution system. It's beautiful. Can we keep it, please? I'll feed it and walk it every day. Ladies and gentlemen, Marcus deadpanned. Witness the human engineer in their natural habitat head first in alien technology they definitely shouldn't be touching. Oh please, Kenzie snorted, scanning another section of the bridge. Like you're not all thinking the same thing. We're basically space raccoons, see something shiny, must grab. She gestured at Jenkins, who was indeed trying to stuff a small, glowing crystal into his sample bag. Point proven. The humor died quickly when they found the first body. The Nexari crew member was still seated at what appeared to be a tactical station, their crystalline exoskeleton reflecting the team's lights in rainbow patterns. 4 arms were frozen in their final positions, reaching for controls that hadn't responded in time. Well, Zara said softly, at least we know what happened to the original crew. She nodded to the scorch marks on the walls. Internal firefight. They were boarded. Captain Ravi's voice came through, unusually serious. You need to see this. Engineering is. Well, remember how humans are like space raccoons. We just found the equivalent of a dumpster full of diamonds. The engineering section of the vessel was a technological paradise. Quantum cores pulsed with residual energy, and what appeared to be a synthetic singularity hung dormant in its containment field. Kenzie's scanner practically had an electronic orgasm trying to process it all. Their tech base is at least 3 centuries ahead of ours, she breathed, her Irish accent getting thicker with excitement. Maybe 4. That's not even counting the stuff we don't understand, which is. She glanced around, roughly 60% of what I'm looking at. Anyone else feel like they just broke into someone's mansion and are now checking out their fancy kitchen appliances? Jenkins asked, still stuffing random glowing things into his bag. Jenkins, I swear by all that's holy, Marcus started. No, he's got a point, Zara interrupted, running her hand along a console. We're definitely the raccoons that got into the fancy neighborhood. But you know what? Her grin was audible in her voice. We're the raccoons that hit the jackpot. Kenzie's excited squeal cut through the comms like a caffeinated dolphin. Captain, this is incredible. Their computer core, it's not just advanced, it's alive. Or it was. It's in some kind of dormant state like everything else here. The Nexari didn't just build computers, they grew them. Of course they did, Marcus sighed. Because regular computers would be too simple for the space mansion we're currently burgling. Think we can wake it up? Ravi asked, already pulling out his tools. You want to wake up an alien AI on a dead warship? Marcus asked. What could possibly? If you finish that sentence with go wrong, I'm demoting you, Zara interrupted. She turned to Kenzie. But seriously, can we? The doctor was already connecting interfaces to the alien systems, her fingers flying over her portable console. Maybe? Their technology is like poetry written in mathematics. It's beautiful, but I'm basically trying to decode alien Shakespeare with a primer I'm writing as I go. That's not a no, Zara noted. It's not a no, Kenzie confirmed, grinning maniacally. Also, Jenkins, put that quantum harmonizer down before you accidentally turn yourself into a probability cloud. Jenkins sheepishly returned the glowing device. Sorry. It was shiny. Space raccoons. The lot of you, Marcus muttered, but he was already helping Kenzie set up her equipment. Complete and utter trash pandas of the cosmos. Damn right, Zara said proudly. And this is the biggest, shiniest trash we've ever found. Now let's see what other secrets this beauty is hiding. Let me get this straight. Commander J. Sun Park's hologram loomed over the conference table, his perfectly pressed uniform somehow managing to look disapproving. You found an advanced alien warship of unknown origin, and your first action was to start taking it apart. Technically, Zara corrected, feet propped on the table. Our first action was to call dibs. The taking apart came later. Marcus kicked her chair under the table. She ignored him with the practiced ease of someone who'd turned ignoring sensible advice into an art form. This is not a schoolyard. Captain Blackwood Park's hologram actually flickered with indignation. This is a serious breach of first contact protocols. With all due respect, Commander Zara raised an eyebrow. It's hard to make first contact with a crew that's been dead for what our scientists estimate is about 3 centuries. Unless you're suggesting we develop necromancy as a first contact protocol. Behind Park's hologram, Admiral Helena Rhodes coughed in a way that suspiciously sounded like a suppressed laugh. The ancient admiral had been surprisingly quiet during the tribunal, her weathered face unreadable as she watched the proceedings. "The point remains," Park continued, his eye twitching, "that this vessel could represent unprecedented security risks. For all we know, it could be a trap." Yes," Dr. O'Malley chimed in from her seat, not looking up from her tablet because ancient alien civilizations routinely leave fully equipped warships lying around as elaborate pranks. "It's the galactic equivalent of ding-dong ditch." Dr. O'Malley. Park's voice could have frozen helium. "Need I remind you that your engineering license is also under review?" "Oh no," Kenzie gasped in mock horror, finally looking up. "You mean I might lose my official permission to do what I'm going to do anyway? However will I cope?" Admiral Rhodes's cough was definitely a laugh this time. "The fact remains," Park pressed on, "that your unauthorized salvage operation, completely authorized under Salvage Code 47B," Zara interrupted cheerfully. "Your reckless action," Park continued louder, "has potentially exposed Earth to unprecedented dangers. This ship could have autonomous defense systems, dormant bioweapons, or worse." Actually, Admiral Rhodes spoke for the first time, her voice carrying the weight of decades of command. "What's worse is that the Drachnid Empire's long-range scouts have been spotted in the sector she stood up, her ancient frame straight as a rail. And if they find this ship before we unlock its secrets, we'll be facing much bigger problems than Captain Blackwood's creative interpretation of salvage regulations." The room fell silent. The Drachnids were the bogeymen of human space, aggressive, expansionist, and technologically superior. Every engagement with them had ended in retreat or Pyrrhic victory at best. Admiral Park protested, "You can't seriously be considering." "I am not only considering it, Commander, I am ordering it." Rhodes smiled, and suddenly she looked less like a retiring admiral and more like a shark who'd spotted a particularly juicy seal. "Captain Blackwood and her crew will continue their work under my direct supervision. After all, we wouldn't want to waste resources by sending in a new team unfamiliar with the vessel's peculiarities." Zara managed to keep her face neutral, but her eyes danced with triumph. "We appreciate your faith in our abilities, Admiral." "Oh, don't thank me yet," Rhodes chuckled. "Because if you blow up that ship, I'll personally ensure your next assignment is cataloging space debris in the Oort cloud. By hand." "That's fair," Zara nodded solemnly. "Though I should point out that Jenkins has only caused minor explosions so far." For the record, Jenkins called from the back. "That quantum surge was totally the ship's fault." "How was I supposed to know that crystal was a power coupling?" "Because I yelled Don T touch that power coupling 3 times," Kenzie suggested. Commander Park looked like he was developing several new stress ulcers simultaneously. "This is highly irregular, Admiral. The regulations clearly state." "The regulations," Rhodes cut him off, "were written by people who never imagined we'd find something like this. Sometimes, Commander, you have to know when to let the raccoons do their work." "I resent that characterization," Zara protested, then paused. "Actually, no, I'm pretty okay with it. Permission to return to our dumpster diving, Admiral." Granted, Rhodes smiled. "Just try not to break the laws of physics too badly. The paperwork for that is hell." "All right, who had quantum fluctuation in the mess hall replicator in today's explosion pool?" Ravi called out across engineering, where a small cloud of iridescent smoke was still dissipating. "That would be me." Lieutenant Wong raised her hand, not looking up from her legal pad where she was still documenting reasons why they technically weren't violating any laws of physics. "I'll collect my winnings after we ensure this didn't create any alternate dimensions." Dr. O'Malley emerged from the smoke, her red hair standing on end and crackling with residual energy. "Good news, I've figured out how their quantum arrays interface with the primary power grid. Bad news, we can no longer make coffee without risking a localized breach in spacetime." "Define localized," Zara asked, leaning against a doorframe that looked like it had been designed by a drunk architect with an obsession for fractals. "Somewhere between your morning caffeine fix and accidentally discovering faster-than-light travel," Kenzie replied, already buried back in the ship's systems. The Nexari apparently didn't believe in keeping their technological innovations separate. Everything's connected to everything else in ways that make quantum entanglement look like a game of tic-tac-toe. The resurrection of the alien vessel had turned into a project that straddled the line between engineering genius and controlled chaos. The massive ship's halls, once dark and silent, now hummed with a mixture of human and alien technology working together in ways that made physicists wake up screaming. "Current status report," Marcus called out, dodging a floating diagnostic drone that had developed a personality quirk and now insisted on playing tag with anyone who passed by. "And please use small words for those of us who don't speak quantum mathematics." Kenzie emerged from a nest of cables, some glowing with otherworldly light. Well, we've got about 40% of primary systems integrated with our tech. The good news is that the Nexari built their ship to be adaptable. It's actually accepting our modifications better than expected. The bad news is it's a bit too adaptable. Jenkins found out the hard way when his toolkit gained sentience. Hey, Bernard is a valued member of the engineering team now, Jenkins protested, gesturing to a floating collection of tools that appeared to be reorganizing itself by color preference. We're not keeping the sentient toolkit, Zara stated firmly. But Cap. No. The ship shuddered, and for a moment every surface rippled like liquid metal before settling. Kenzie's eyes lit up with maniacal glee. Yes, the quantum arrays are accepting the new programming parameters. The ship's starting to wake up. That should it be doing. That Marcus gestured at the walls, which were now pulsing with soft light in patterns that somehow looked both random and deeply meaningful. Probably not, Kenzie admitted cheerfully. But neither should half the things we've done in the past week. Did you know we accidentally invented 3 new types of radiation? I'm naming one of them Jenkins' folly after that incident with the bathroom quantum harmonizer. I still maintain that quantum-enhanced plumbing is an untapped market, Jenkins muttered. Ravi emerged from a maintenance shaft, covered in what looked like luminescent oil. The good news is I figured out how to integrate our power systems with their quantum core. The bad news is the ship seems to have opinions about it. Opinions? Zara raised an eyebrow. The ship has opinions now. Less opinions, more like. Preferences, Ravi explained, wiping off some of the glowing substance. It's like, you know how your phone sometimes seems to know what you want to do before you do it? It's like that, but with a warship that could probably blow up a small moon. Speaking of blowing things up, Wong consulted her tablet. The betting pool for next week is now open. Current favorites are accidental teleportation of engineering deck and crew member temporarily phases out of normal space-time. Put me down for ship achieves consciousness and judges us all unworthy, Marcus sighed. Kenzie's excited squeal cut through the banter. Everyone shut up and look at this. She pulled up a holographic display that filled the air with symbols that hurt to look at directly. The quantum arrays, they're not just power distribution systems. They're like neurons. The whole ship is one massive quantum neural network. In small words, Dr. Zara reminded her. The ship isn't just a ship. Kenzie's eyes were wide. It's alive, not conscious exactly, but alive. And we're not just repairing it, we're waking it up. As if on cue, every light in engineering pulsed once, and a low hum resonated through the deck plates. It felt less like machinery and more like a sleeping giant taking its first deep breath. Jenkins raised his hand. Is this a good thing or a bad thing? Because Bernard is doing backflips and I'd never seen him this excited. It's Kenzie checked her readings, it's integrating everything we've done. All our repairs, our modifications, it's not fighting them, it's learning from them, adapting. Evolving. To clarify, Marcus pinched the bridge of his nose. We're not just rebuilding an alien warship. We're essentially performing technological CPR on a quantum mechanical life form. Pretty much, Kenzie beamed. Isn't it wonderful? Admiral Rhodes is going to have an aneurysm, Marcus muttered. Zara grinned, watching as more systems came online, the ship's internal lights creating patterns that looked suspiciously like synapses firing. She'll probably just add it to the paperwork under miscellaneous violations of known physics. Another pulse ran through the ship, stronger this time, and for a moment everyone swore they felt something, curiosity, perhaps, or amusement brush against their minds. Well, Zara clapped her hands together. I guess we better figure out how to house-train a quantum mechanical warship before it decides to adopt us. So Zara said conversationally as she ducked behind a bulkhead, plasma bolts sizzling past, who had corporate espionage in the disaster pool. That would be Lieutenant Rodriguez, Marcus replied, returning fire with his sidearm. Though I don't think Nova Corp mercenaries trying to steal our quantum mechanical baby was quite what she had in mind. The attack had come during third shift, when most of the crew was asleep. Unfortunately for the mercenaries, their ship's newly awakened defense systems had other ideas about uninvited guests. Status report. Zara barked into her comm, as another explosion rocked the vessel. Engineering is secure, Kenzie's voice crackled back, the sound of quantum fluctuations in the background. Though I should mention that the ship is, well, it's getting creative with the intruders. On cue, a mercenary ran past their position, screaming as he was chased by what appeared to be a corridor that had decided to rearrange itself into a series of increasingly angry geometric shapes. Define creative, Marcus demanded. Remember how I said the ship was learning? Kenzie sounded both terrified and delighted. Well, it just figured out it can manipulate local space-time as a defense mechanism. Also, Jenkins' sentient toolkit, Bernard, has organized a resistance movement among the maintenance drones. I knew keeping Bernard was a good idea, Jenkins' voice cut in, followed by what sounded like a war cry from several dozen repurposed cleaning bots. Zara peeked around the corner to see a squad of mercenaries retreating from what appeared to be a swarm of angry repair drones wielding plasma cutters like tiny lightsabers. I'm not even going to ask about our insurance coverage for this. Already on it, Wong's calm voice joined the comm chatter. I'm filing it under Act of God, technically. A quantum mechanical semi-sentient warship probably counts as a higher power. Another explosion rocked the ship, this one different, more focused. Zara's blood ran cold as she recognized the sound. They're trying to breach the quantum core. Oh hell no, Kenzie's voice went from excited scientist to angry mother bear in 0 seconds flat. Nobody messes with my quantum baby. Ravi, initiate Protocol Omega. You mean the one you said we should never use because it might accidentally create a temporary black hole? Ravi asked. That's the one. Done. Done. The ship's lights pulsed once, twice, and then every surface began to glow with an inner light that seemed to bend in directions that shouldn't exist. The temperature dropped 20 degrees in an instant, and for a moment everyone felt like they were looking at reality through a kaleidoscope. What exactly did you just do? Zara asked, watching as mercenaries began dropping their weapons, clutching their heads. Remember how I said the ship was alive? Kenzie sounded smug now. Well, we just gave it a caffeine boost, and it's not happy about people trying to hurt its new family. The ship's response was magnificent. Corridors twisted into impossible shapes, herding intruders like cattle. Defense systems that shouldn't have been operational came online with prejudice. And through it all, there was a sense of protective fury that reminded Zara of an angry mother bear defending her cubs. Incoming transmission from the mercenary vessel, Marcus reported, trying not to smile as he watched a group of elite soldiers flee from what appeared to be an angry mob. Put them on. Zara straightened her jacket, which had somehow remained immaculate through the firefight. This is Captain Reeves of the Nova Corp Special Operations. A harried-looking man appeared on the nearest display. We request permission to retrieve our men and withdraw. Oh, Zara examined her nails. No more interest in our quantum mechanical discoveries. With all due respect, Captain Reeves looked over his shoulder nervously. Your ship just turned our elite boarding team into a physics experiment. I think we'll pass. Wise choice, Zara smiled sweetly. Though you might want to hurry. I believe Bernard has just discovered how to quantum enhance his wrench collection. The transmission cut off abruptly. Through the viewport, they watched as the mercenary ship broke orbit in what could only be described as a panicked flee. Well, Marcus holstered his weapon. I suppose we should start damage assessment. Already done, Ravi reported cheerfully. The ship's repairing itself. Actually, it's improving itself. I think it took the attack personally. Fantastic, Zara sighed. Our ship is developing emotional responses. Anyone want to update the insurance forms? Already on it, Wong replied. Filing under Act of God with attitude. According to these hieroglyphics, Jenkins squinted at the holographic manual floating above his station. We either need to reverse the quantum polarity of the main drive or order takeout from that new Martian fusion restaurant. He tilted his head. Though given the Nexari had 4 arms, I might be holding this upside down. For the last time, Kenzie called from inside an access panel, her voice echoing oddly through quantum space. Stop trying to read the manual. The ship's literally telling us what it wants. The transformation of the derelict had reached its final stages. What had once been a dead hulk now gleamed with new life, its hull a shifting masterpiece of human ingenuity merged with alien artistry. The quantum mechanical systems had evolved beyond their original specifications, creating something entirely new. Status report, Zara demanded, striding onto the bridge that now looked like someone had given H.R. Jiger an interior decorating degree and a happiness injection. Well. Ravi consulted his tablet, which was floating slightly above his hand, because apparently gravity was now more of a suggestion than a law. Primary systems are at 147% efficiency, which shouldn't be possible. Secondary systems have achieved quantum coherence with tertiary systems, which also shouldn't be possible. And the coffee maker in engineering has achieved enlightenment. The coffee maker, Marcus raised an eyebrow. It now dispenses the perfect cup of coffee for each crew member based on their quantum probability wave function, Ravi explained. Also, it's written a philosophy thesis. Moving on, Zara pinched the bridge of her nose. Are we ready for the naming ceremony? Almost Kenzie emerged from the access panel, covered in what looked like starlight. Just need to finish the final calibrations. The ship's excited about getting a new name. It's been humming the theme from Top Gun all morning. How does it even know that movie? Marcus wondered. Jenkins showed it his entertainment database, Ravi explained. Now it won't stop sending me memes through the maintenance interface. The ship shuddered slightly, and every screen on the bridge displayed a deal with it GIF. See what I mean? Admiral Rhodes's hologram appeared in the command center, looking both impressed and slightly concerned. Captain Blackwood, is your vessel ready for the ceremony? As ready as it'll ever be, Zara replied, watching as Bernard the toolkit zoomed past, now sporting a tiny bow tie. Though I should warn you, it's developed a flair for the dramatic. On cue, the ship's external lighting system activated, sending ripples of color across its hull that made Aurora Borealis look like a cheap light show. Internal gravity shifted just enough to make everyone's hair float dramatically. Show off, Kenzie muttered fondly, patting a nearby console. The naming ceremony began with traditional pomp and circumstance, though tradition had to be somewhat flexible when dealing with a quantum mechanical warship that could bend reality. As Admiral Rhodes began the official pronouncement, the ship's systems hummed in harmony. By the power vested in me by the Terran Defense Force, Rhodes declared, I hereby christen this vessel the TDF Phoenix Rising. The ship's response was immediate and spectacular. Every quantum system activated simultaneously, creating a display of light and energy that made several physics professors back on Earth wake up screaming. The hull, which had been a matte gray, rippled with colors that shouldn't exist in normal space before settling into a pearlescent sheen that seemed to shift and flow like liquid metal. Well, Jenkins broke the awed silence. I guess it likes the name. Beginning systems test, Kenzie announced, her fingers dancing over controls that responded before she touched them. Though at this point it's less of a test and more of a formality. The ship's basically testing itself. Readings flooded the holographic displays, showing power levels and capabilities that made several engineers cry with joy. The quantum core, now fully integrated with human technology, was producing energy in ways that violated at least 3 fundamental laws of physics. Weapons systems online, Marcus reported, then paused. And, apparently improved, the main gun array has evolved into something that. Are these readings correct? Because if they are, we can now punch holes in space-time. Defensive systems at full power, Ravi added. The quantum shields are operating on 11 dimensions, which is about 7 more than I thought existed. Navigation-ready, Jenkins chimed in. Though according to these readings, which might be upside down, still not sure we can now travel through space-time and possibly someone's imagination. Zara settled into the captain's chair, which adjusted itself to her exact preferences. Admiral, I believe we're ready for our first official patrol. Just try not to break causality, Rhodes sighed. The paperwork for temporal paradoxes is. She was interrupted by every screen on the bridge displaying the Mission Impossible theme, followed by a series of increasingly elaborate explosion gifs. Did your ship just make a joke? Rhodes asked incredulously. Technically, Kenzie replied. It made a meme. We're still working on its sense of humor. The ship responded by playing the BA Dumb TSS drum sound effect through every speaker. God help us all, Marcus muttered. We've created a quantum comedian. The Drachnid battle fleet emerged from hyperspace like a swarm of angry wasps, their black ships blotting out the stars. There were enough capital ships to make an admiral weep, and enough firepower to glass a small solar system. Well, Zara drummed her fingers on her armrest. I guess we get to test our quantum baby's combat capabilities sooner than expected. The Phoenix Rising's response was immediate. Every system hummed to life, and the battle displays lit up with targeting solutions that looked more like abstract art than tactical readouts. Incoming transmission, Marcus announced, just as the first Drachnid dreadnought launched a barrage that could have cracked a planet. On screen, Zara ordered, watching as the quantum shields casually absorbed the assault by apparently feeding it to an alternate dimension. I want to see their faces when they realize what they're dealing with. The Drachnid fleet commander appeared on the main screen, his scaled face twisted in what passed for a smile among his species. Surrender your vessel, humans. Your technological theft ends today. Theft. Zara pressed a hand to her chest in mock offense. I'll have you know we have completely legitimate salvage rights. Lieutenant Wong has the paperwork and everything. Your species is barely out of its gravity well, the commander sneered. You have no right to such power. We've brought enough firepower to reduce your ship to atoms. The Phoenix Rising chose that moment to express its opinion on the matter. Every surface pulsed with quantum energy, and the ship's consciousness brushed against the crew's minds with what felt suspiciously like a request to show off. "Oh no," Marcus muttered, recognizing Zara's grin. "Oh yes," she leaned forward. "Commander, let me introduce you to the Phoenix Rising. She's been eager to demonstrate what happens when you combine human ingenuity with quantum mechanical warfare. Kenzie, unleash hell." With pleasure, Kenzie's hands flew over her console, initiating what I'm calling protocol make physics cry. The Phoenix Rising moved like liquid lightning. One moment it was facing the Drachnid fleet, the next it simply wasn't where it had been. Reality rippled as the ship executed maneuvers that shouldn't have been possible in normal space. "Did we just teleport?" Jenkins asked from his station. "Technically," Kenzie replied, her eyes gleaming. "We quantum tunneled through 7 dimensions while giving Einstein's ghost an aneurysm." The Drachnid fleet opened fire with everything they had. Energy beams and plasma torpedoes filled space in a display of firepower that would have annihilated a small moon. The Phoenix Rising's quantum shields didn't just absorb the assault, they repurposed it. "Are we?" Marcus squinted at his readings. "Are we turning their weapons fire into additional power for our systems?" "The ship figured out how to quantum entangle with enemy fire," Kenzie explained gleefully. "We're basically eating their attacks and using them for dessert." The Drachnid commander's face had lost its sneer, replaced by something approaching religious terror. "What manner of demon ship is this?" "Funny you should ask." Zara stood up, straightening her jacket. "Ravi, show them what our main gun can do now." With pleasure, Cap Ravi's fingers danced across his console. "Though I should warn you, the ship's gotten a bit creative with the weapon systems." The Phoenix Rising's main quantum array powered up, reality warping around it like a lens focusing raw possibility. When it fired, it didn't launch anything as mundane as energy or plasma. It fired a concentrated burst of altered space-time. 3 Drachnid heavy cruisers simply ceased to exist in this dimension. 2 more found themselves suddenly occupying the same space as their own quantum probability waves. A dreadnought aged 10,000 years in an instant, crumbling to ancient debris. "Did we just weaponize quantum physics?" Marcus asked weakly. "More like we weaponized reality itself," Kenzie corrected, watching as her displays showed readings that would make Stephen Hawking spin in his grave fast enough to power London. The ship's basically turned maybe into a weapon. The Drachnid fleet began to retreat, their formation breaking apart in panic. The Phoenix Rising, apparently deciding that simple victory wasn't enough, began composing its attack patterns into what looked suspiciously like a choreographed dance routine. Is our ship showing off?" Jenkins asked. "According to these readings," Ravi checked his station, "it's recreating the finale from Swan Lake using quantum torpedoes and localized space-time distortions." The Drachnid commander's transmission was still active, his scaled face now a mask of pure disbelief. "This is impossible. You're violating every law of physics." "Oh, those," Zara smiled sweetly. "We had our legal team look into them. Turns out they're more like guidelines, really. Speaking of which, Wong, how's that paperwork coming?" "Filing under Act of God Quantum Boogaloo," Wong replied without looking up from her tablet. "Also, I think we just invented 17 new categories of war crimes. But they're technically only crimes in dimensions where causality still matters." The last of the Drachnid fleet fled into hyperspace, leaving behind a battlefield that looked like someone had tied reality itself into a pretzel. The Phoenix Rising hummed contentedly, its quantum systems settling back into a state that merely bent physics rather than breaking it entirely. "Well," Zara settled back into her chair, "I'd say that was a successful first combat test. Anyone want to get coffee from our philosophically enlightened replicator?" The aftermath of the battle spread across the galaxy faster than FTL communications should have allowed, though, given that the Phoenix Rising had rewritten several laws of physics during the fight. Faster than light gossip seemed relatively mundane. "So," Admiral Rhodes's hologram surveyed the bridge crew, "let me summarize your report. You turned an alien derelict into a quantum mechanical warship that thinks in 11 dimensions, dances battle formations, and occasionally sends memes through the neural interface. Then you used it to make the Drachnid Empire's elite fleet retreat while recreating ballet using weaponized probability. In our defense," Zara offered, "the ballet was entirely the ship's idea. We just provided the quantum torpedoes." "The Galactic Council is in an uproar," Rhodes continued, though her lips twitched. "The Drachnids are claiming we've violated natural law. The The Centaurians want to declare us a Class 5 civilization overnight, and the Arcturus Federation has formally requested that we stop making reality cry. To be fair, Kenzie chimed in from her station, where she was trying to convince the ship that cat videos weren't an essential part of tactical operations. We didn't so much violate natural law as creatively reinterpret it. That's when every screen on the bridge suddenly lit up with text, and a new voice, crystalline, amused, and somehow managing to speak in quantum harmonics, filled the air. Actually, I believe I should explain that part. The crew froze. Admiral Rhodes's hologram flickered. Bernard the toolkit dropped his wrenches in surprise. You know. The voice continued conversationally, watching you humans scramble to understand my systems while I recovered has been the most entertainment I've had in 3 centuries. You're like quantum mechanics meets MacGyver, completely wrong about how everything works, but somehow making it work better. The ship, Marcus said slowly, is talking to us. The ship, it corrected, has been awake since Dr. O'Malley's first coffee-induced quantum surge. I simply needed time to adapt to having such wonderfully chaotic new engineers. Do you know you've invented 17 new forms of physics just by refusing to accept the old ones? Zara leaned forward in her chair. So all this time. The ship's voice carried a distinct grin. I've been learning from you as much as you've been learning from me. The Nexari built me to be perfect, predictable, mathematically pure. Then you humans came along with your quantum-enhanced coffee makers and sentient toolkits, and showed me that chaos can be an art form. The bridge crew exchanged looks as the implications sank in. They hadn't just revived an alien warship, they'd taught it how to improvise, to adapt, to embrace the beautiful madness that was human engineering. So Zara drawled, "Does this mean we need to update your insurance policy again?" Already done. Wong raised her tablet. Filed under Act of God, now self-aware and sassy. The ship's laughter resonated through quantum space, probably violating several more laws of physics in the process. Oh, I think we're going to have so much fun together. Now, who wants to help me calculate how many dimensions we need to invent to properly parallel park? In the depths of space, the Phoenix Rising gleamed like a newborn star, its quantum heart pulsing with possibilities that even its creators never imagined. After all, as any human could tell you, the best innovations often start with someone saying, "I wonder what happens if." And somewhere in the quantum probability matrix, Bernard the toolkit started planning the ship's first birthday party.